The power of the venue went out mid-ceremony.
Oh no.
And
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm thinking through all of the things that I could do to help facilitate this ceremony. And it went from being like one of the most challenging, like the wheels are falling off moments to like an absolutely like most magical moment of my wedding career.
How has that been having a new team member?
Even though it was more challenging at times, I had to ask myself the question, who am I in this for? Am I in this for me or am I in this for we? And I really settled on, I'm in this for we.
So going back to pro basketball, how did that fit into the story?
Yeah, it took me years to realize how much my professional athlete life informs my life as a wedding music professional.
What role has mentorship played in your journey as a musician?
It has been everything to me. I would be nothing without the mentors of my life. You can't be what you can't see, and be who you were when you were younger. And so I should be that person.
Okie dokie. So I am here with one of our Musicwork mentors, Mike Medved. Mike, thanks so much for being here. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Allison. It's always great seeing you and always great chatting with you.
Awesome. So I'm excited to chat as well. We have a lot to share. The agenda for today is we're just going to do a little chit chat to learn from your experience and see what we can glean from that. It'll be a quick one here, but let's dig into it. So for those who do not know you yet, what are you all about, Mike? Tell us a little bit about your music business and what you offer.
Yeah, so I am a full-day wedding musician. I cover all music needs from guest arrival at the ceremony through the last song of the night at the reception. And I consider myself an all-day DJ, but I'm also a live musician. So I play live music at the ceremony as guests are arriving. I perform the important ceremony moments, so I can do that live, guitar solo or guitar and vocal. And then I transition into a live cocktail hour of songs that our clients request, and then I transform into what I would consider like a traditional DJ MC, where I'm at turntables and facilitating the night, all the important events. But to kind of touch back on that live music wrinkle, I perform the first dance live as well. So it's a pretty chaotic cacophony of details all intertwined in this beautiful balance of energy and testimony to marriage and all the wonderful things you'd expect at a wedding day.
So how did young Mike Medved get into music and the wedding scene? How did this all happen? Take us back as far as we need to go here. But have you always been were you practicing guitar when you were 4, or how did you get into this world? I'm curious.
Yeah, I grew up singing. I've always loved to sing. I was in kids choirs. I grew up singing in church. It's the first time I played guitar actually was in church. Our congregation added a contemporary service in 1999, which was pretty progressive at the time, I guess. We were an old school Presbyterian congregation, but we had some really incredible people that wanted to just put a bit more modern spin on the music at church. And so at 12 years old, I was playing a $98 nylon string guitar my parents bought at Sam's Club, and became part of the worship team at church. And so kind of learned how to play with others kind of in time on the fly. And eventually that didn't really turn into a professional thing until just after college. Sports kind of dominated my life through a lot of my youth and through my college years. And I even played professional basketball for a couple of years after college. And I began attending open mic nights, and I won a contest in Leeds to get a residency at one of my favorite pubs. And it was like a pro gig. I was paid very well. It was really high end place. So one of my first regular gigs was at a place called, well, it was Arc Innovations was the corporation. So I played at a place called Kobe, and played at a place called the Tap in Headingley as well. And it was day one for me as a professional musician.
What would you say is the role of, I know you're very much someone who has a big heart for everyone in our community, and you're always looking to help other people out. And you seem to just be very familiar in this type of environment of, growing together. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what role has mentorship played in your journey as a musician or professional life in general? But what's your approach to that?
It has been everything to me. I would be nothing without the mentors of my life. when I was younger, I used to attend bluegrass jams, and the organizer of the bluegrass jam was a mentor of mine in many ways. And he was one of my dad's best friends. And, he gifted me something we used to call the 10 Jamandments. The 10 rules you had to follow at a jam, and really just
I love
taught
it.
me about the expectations that a musician should meet and how a musician should carry themselves. And that translated into mentoring me at my first gigs when I was 21 or 22 years old. He would give me great advice, like, you should not talk between every song. People did not come to the venue to hear you talk. Sometimes it's okay, but every song is not okay. And just like lovingly constructive criticism.
Right.
And there were so many others as well. Another friend of my dad's who kind of taught me how to play the guitar when I was 12, also kind of brought me along as a musician. And I'm just thinking about like just the business mentors that I've had, whether I knew it or not at the time, like how they touched my life. So I've always kind of operated from the perspective of like, you can't be what you can't see, and be who you needed when you were younger. And like, I didn't know I needed those guys because thankfully they were there. But I realized as an adult, like, I absolutely needed them. And so I should be that person because I needed them when I was younger. And so I need to be that for the next generation. And whether that be younger people or just people that are a little bit more youthful in their journey as professional musicians, that's like something that truly is like dear to me and I take very seriously. Because the other thing I feel very strongly about is when the tide rises, all boats float. And
Mm-hmm.
so there is no reason to gatekeep or to, put a barrier up between your success and someone else's success, because the better that you can be, the better that other people can be, and everyone benefits from that.
That's so good. That's so good. I love that. And we'll be getting into how you are continuing to do that, obviously by like mentoring the community, but also with Pittsburgh Wedding Music and Co. We'll get into that a little bit of how you're just continuing to like multiply how we can just lift other musicians up and how that's lifting other people up as well through the music that's bringing people together. So I love that. Let's drill into what 2025 was like for you. A little bit of recap, or aka therapy, we'll see. But I know it was a super busy year for you. But what were some highlights for you? I know it was an awesome year of a lot of performances. Mike's also a teacher by day here, guys. So, and like has a beautiful family. He's holding down a lot, but so you had so much, so many beautiful weddings you were a part of. What was a highlight when you think back on 2025?
Hmm. There were so many highlights in 25, and like, I'm not great at reflecting on these things because I'm always wanting to grow the next thing or put out the next fire. I think a lot of us sympathize with that. But if I stop for a minute and really think about 25, it was the year that I grew my team. So I hired a professional video assistant, and our audio company that we use is also growing rapidly. So I'm not part of the ownership there, but I use them exclusively because I trust them implicitly with everything, and we
Yeah.
align very well. And so they're growing, and they added a new employee who just had an incredible skill set. So shout out to Buzzy, and he just brought like a really great rejuvenating energy and just like a lot of cool technology tips to the table. So like, we live streamed our first wedding ceremony. One of our
Whoa.
grooms was from the Ivory Coast, and so
Yeah.
we live streamed the ceremony back to the Ivory Coast for them, since a lot of
Yeah.
his family and friends couldn't travel.
Mm-hmm.
And our audio team handled that very well, because that's a complex thing to add to a wedding ceremony when there's already complex parts and pieces.
Yeah.
And my video guy just did a fantastic job. He turned 18 in the middle of the wedding season, and he's just like a really talented, youthful guy who brings like a really cool perspective to just how things look and how things feel. So it's great to have him. That was new for me. In years past, I was really kind of borrowing and pleading for video content from the videographers that were at the weddings. But the
Yeah.
challenge there is not every wedding has a videographer, or not every videographer is as quick to share their content with you as you are to share audio channels with them, and at the ceremony when they really need them. So there's just a bit more control over that environment. And then like two other things I'm thinking about. I got to step into the Carnegie Music Hall and work a wedding for the first time, and that is just an unparalleled space here in Pittsburgh. It is a floor-to-ceiling marble columns. The ceiling has to be, 60 or 80 feet tall, gilded. The acoustics are challenging, but we are musicians and audio experts, so we knew how to navigate that space really well. And that was definitely a high watermark for me because it's just a place I've always dreamed about working. And so it's definitely like a touchstone. And another highlight, which was also maybe our most challenging wedding of the year, was our first wedding of the year. The power of the venue went out mid-ceremony.
Oh, no.
Yes. So the officiant did a great job. They just kept talking. They just kept officiating the wedding.
Right.
They had never officiated a wedding before, so like big credit to them.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm thinking through all of the things that I could do to help facilitate this ceremony because they chose a recorded song for their recessional. And it was a really hyped up, energetic Harry Styles song. And honestly, we recommend most of our clients choose a recording for the recessional because it just brings in like full spectrum sound. And I'm thinking like, trying to think on my feet here. You can feel that the ceremony's coming to an end. We're pronouncing people husband and wife. And it occurred to me, like, I don't have that Harry Styles song memorized, but I do have a different Harry Styles song memorized, and it was Adore You.
Right.
And so as the officiant says, I now pronounce you Mr. and Mrs., and, you may kiss your bride. I grabbed my acoustic guitar, and I kind of stepped up in front of the microphone a little bit. And we're side on at this venue, so we're about halfway down guest seating. And I just sang and played at the top of my lungs. And it went like mini viral here in our Pittsburgh wedding community. It was like my most watched Instagram reel, and it was shared, 35 times. It's a lot for me. And it went from being like one of the most challenging, like the wheels are falling off moments to like an absolutely like most magical moment of my wedding career. And eventually, near the end of cocktail hour, the power came back on. There was a street food fair, and a balloon installation had gotten loose and exploded a transformer. So it was a big problem. But they eventually got the power back on, and we, the reception, live first dance, DJ at the reception, and the night ended in like the most memorable way. And the clients were just like, "Oh my gosh, you saved the wedding! Thank you so much." And here I was just thinking like, what would I want to hear or feel or have someone do for me in this moment? It's like, let's play the song. Let's play the song for you guys.
Yeah, you got to make it work. And that's the thing, like thinking on your feet when, especially a wedding, and there's like tight tolerances with timing, and you just got to make something happen. No, that's awesome. And it seems like this year was a lot of team for you, and you're continuing to kind of grow that direction. And I remember when I first realized oh, I don't need to do everything myself. And it's just oh, people actually want to help. This is lovely. And you can do so much more together than we kind of part. What has been, I'm not sure what the question is yet, but what has been your thought process between thinking about growing your team? I think you've always kind of had this approach because I believe the audio team you've worked with, you've done for a while, but tell us about that approach of just not DIYing everything, but expanding your team and building people up, and your mentality there.
Yeah, so bringing the audio team on just grew out of a need to find more balance in my personal life because I was showing up to venues at 11 a.m. and setting up 3 full sound systems for ceremony, cocktail hour, reception. And I would sneak off during dinner because that's vendor break time anyway. And I would tear down the ceremony, the cocktail hour, and then I would DJ the reception. And it was just a lot.
Yeah.
And, we have 3 kids now. And at the time I did that, we had 2 kids. But, it was January of 2021. I worked with Tim at Gitano Productions for the first time. And we were at Hotel Monaco in Pittsburgh, which is another premier venue. And that was kind of a turning the corner for me as well because that became the point at which I started working in those venues very consistently. And I realized geez, I'm going to rip off a movie here and I wish I could tell you which one it is, or maybe it's just a great saying, but if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together.
Yes.
And I realized that, and I just wanted to go farther in my career. And I knew that I would hit my ceiling by myself and I could make a certain amount of dollars. And, I'm going to have to spend money to have a team, but if we can figure out the right business model, I can still make the same or more for my family and provide for other people in their family and grow this thing. It's just beauty on beauty at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And for myself, I've learned the same thing by accident because as you know, my story, I moved and I would have kept doing as much as I possibly could by myself if I hadn't. But being in a string quartet for myself, you're naturally doing teamwork to begin with. But it's another way to think about it that I've learned is it's not how big of a pie slice you're getting, but how big you can grow the pie together too. I see how that's helped you grow so much too, even this year with like the content guy that you've got, like such like, you know, great stuff that you guys are producing now, and I see that continues to improve. Yeah, if you can speak to the content part a little bit, like how has that been having a new team member who's doing content and kind of like building that guy up so he can continue to just keep growing? And yeah, how's your approach been there?
Yeah, I mean, initially it was really challenging
Mm-hmm.
because instead of just doing everything, you're now explaining what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And you're doing that in an environment where you also need to be doing things. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was really dividing my brain between teaching and doing. Thankfully, I have a heart for teaching as well. And so even though it was more challenging at times, I had to ask myself the question, like, is this juice worth the squeeze? Who am I in this for? Am I in this for me, or am I in this for we? And I really settled on,
Mm.
I'm in this for we. Like, it's a privilege to have the challenge of a situation that I used to pray for. And
Yeah.
so to have Isaiah there, even though it took, an extra percentage of my brain and for me to slow down and to stop, at times I would be in the middle of setting something up, but have to explain to him how a piece of video gear was working or not working at that point in time, or how to change ISO max settings so we didn't get noise in the film, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
I realized, and honestly, I like developed a new level of conditioning because that became normal, and then I wasn't as tired or as taxed in doing it. So there is an investment up front, but there is a reward that far outweighs the investment if you trust that process and if you carry that through to fruition. So it's been great, and it's also cool to just have a colleague, like a coworker, in this, to talk your ideas out with. Because when I'm doing the video content, I'm sitting at Final Cut and I'm making the cuts and I'm exporting it and it's going up on social media, and that's it. It's me, myself, and I. And being able to kind of chat out ideas and cast some vision and explaining to someone else what's important for things to look like reminds you yourself what it is important to look like and why it's important to be that
Yeah.
way. So it's been fantastic. We're actually upgrading this year. I bought a professional Sony video camera. We were on an Osmo Pocket 3 for the first year, but they can fall down a little bit in low light, and just like a lot of noise, like a lot of kind of grainy, noisy video. So the new gimbal arrived last night, and I had the camera for the last month or so, and it's just been amazing. So I'm gonna kind of, in a way, looking forward to helping Isaiah kickstart his own content creation business alongside of working with me. So
Yeah.
we're excited for that.
Oh, I love that so much, because it's like when you're investing into people, like especially if they're going to keep working with you, that's like the best investment you can make. Because yeah, it does take more time at first, and that's where sometimes like you don't stick with it long enough. It just feels like wasn't worth it. It's easier to do things myself, as solopreneurs think. But once you get past that, and like then now you're building something together, it's so much more enjoyable to be able to like talk through things like you're saying and come up with better ideas. So no, that's perfect. Sorry, my voice is like going somewhere. Hopefully it comes back. I got my tea. 1 second. Okay, good to go. But this is a good transition to pro basketball days, because like that's like a what? You're a pro basketball player. Mike is what are you, like 6'7" or something like that here?
I
So
am.
like
I'm everybody's favorite number this year. Yes.
exactly. So that's right. That's funny. Okay. So going back to pro basketball, how did that fit into the story? And also, I know that you like made this like really cool post this one time, kind of sharing how like that mindset has like helped you so much in your music life, and also like with the wedding business too. So talk to us a little bit about that, and how like you think about the mindset and how it helps you with what you're doing here.
Yeah, it took me years to realize how much my professional athlete life informs my life as a wedding music professional.
Right.
There's so many points that just align beautifully. The preparation and attention to detail is probably the most important thing you can take from that life. Like, I would be watching game film, I would be memorizing certain calls or plays or situations on the floor, and just it lives on my website, on the about section of my website. There's no detail too small and no moment too big. And the no moment too big side of that is the game's on the line. Like, we're here in the last 30 seconds. We need a bucket, or we need a stop, or, you can't turn the ball over. Like, everything is of the utmost importance. It's so critical that it goes perfect. And if it doesn't, then you don't get the result that you want, and you don't get the result that you worked hard for. And so similarly, if I'm singing and playing a song and a bride is walking down the aisle, you have one chance to do that perfectly. You have one chance to do it well. If you've prepped and put the time in, you can trust yourself to do it well. But there's also the moment of just like keeping nerves at bay and keeping calm and cool and collected, and delivering the product that you've been hired to deliver. And what was really unique about that is I was hired to deliver a certain product as a basketball player, and now I'm hired to deliver a certain product as a wedding musician and DJ. And
Mm-hmm.
both of those environments are incredibly high stakes, and you don't get a second chance at the game once it's over. And there's no second chance at a ceremony or a live first dance or even at your dance floor. Like, there are no second chances. And so I carry that with me. I think it's more subconscious and kind of ingrained in who I am these days. But when I really stop to think about it, it's evident that my life as a professional athlete really, truly, deeply informs my life as a wedding music professional.
Mm-hmm. That's so good. Yeah, just being in game mode is key, and like thinking fast, like you said, even with that wedding where you had to come up with a quick solution. That's, I can see how there's so many parallels with that, and especially basketball where there's a lot of motion going on. But yeah,
it's not always going to go perfect. So like it's not a vacuum. You're not in a sterile environment. And basketball was not that way. The ball would bounce away you wouldn't expect, or something would happen that was out of your control. And honestly, we used to yell at each other, next play, and just like move past that and focus on the next play. And when the power went out, it was the first time I had my video guy with me, and I don't take credit for it. It just happened. I turned around to him and said, turn the camera on, throw me the mic. And I took the DJI has like a little wireless mic with a magnet, and I threw it on me, and he rolled the camera, and like that, the rest just happened to be caught on video. Like,
yeah.
I'm thankful that I had like the wherewithal in my mind to say, hey, turn that camera on and give me that mic. Something cool is going to happen, or something important is going to happen. But,
right.
Yeah, it's just kind of all intertwined in one moment of like, okay, something went wrong. How can we make it right? What's the next best play?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like problem solving in flow state where things are like, tight timing. So no, I think that's super neat and important. And I think like it's more of a conversation for every musician, even if you're not a pro basketball player, like being like the parallels between, I myself, I like to move like most humans, but it's like there's so many parallels to being able to be disciplined, and it's just like being a musician. So you don't have to be a music nerd that doesn't do anything else. It's like you learn so much from the athletic world too. So I see that too. But I know we're getting tight on time here, so it wouldn't be a podcast unless I asked about work-life balance, especially since, like I already alluded to, you have your full-time wedding music business and also a teacher by day. You have your beautiful family, 3 kids. And if we can sneak in talking a little bit about Pittsburgh Wedding Music & Co. that you're starting up too, to continue to help more musicians get booked for performances. What's your approach to work-life balance here? What wisdom can you bestow on us here when it comes to what you've learned over your experience?
Yeah, it's a tough one, Allison. I mean, sometimes there is no balance. Sometimes we just find ourselves in a season where we just have to communicate and be real with whoever else is in the balance, so to speak. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, hey, this month's going to be gnarly. In our house, we have a phrase. Sometimes we say, "This week was a really hard month." Some weeks feel like a month.
Right.
And so we just try our best to be really intentional with our calendar. We protect certain times. There's certain times of the week that are just protected, and that's what they're for. And other times they are a little bit more flexible. And then we just have our known work hours. My wife owns a bakery, so she's up at 4 a.m. sometimes around the holidays to go to work. Sometimes even 2 a.m. if it's Christmas and Easter, Thanksgiving time. And so, I know that she's probably going to go to bed early, and so I can steal an hour or two at night. And the funny thing is, it's going to sound like I'm a workaholic with no social life, but sometimes I am, and I'm okay with that because it's who I'm called to be. I definitely have a social life, but on a random Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, I'm not out like bowling or in whatever kind of social outlet league thing that some of my friends do. I'm at the computer and I'm growing my wedding business, or I'm working on media, or kind of dialing in things that just regular to-do list items. And so to kind of find a balance, I think we just try to communicate as best we can. And I found that like my physical health inspires my mental health too. So like I can live in a pretty extreme state as long as part of that extreme nature is just being active and healthy with my body and my diet. So when it's, right now I'm training for a marathon relay. I do CrossFit a couple mornings a week. If I just work and don't have that part of the extreme environment, I really suffer. So, kind of learning what works, learning what doesn't work, trialing, trialing and erroring. That's a term. And I keep a planner. Like I write stuff down. I make goals for the month. I have my 3 big things each day that I need to accomplish. I go back and reflect on it. And instead of panicking, I just say, all right, this one's for the next week then if I didn't get to it.
Yeah, no, that's so good. And it's so true that, it's like putting your oxygen mask on first before the other person. Like if you're not taking care of your health, then you don't have the energy to bring to the table for the other things. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that as well. It's important for all of us, even if we're not training for a marathoner, pro basketball player. But no, thank you so much for sharing about all of your experience and like so many gems in this conversation here. I feel like your family is like another side note that just appeared in my mind, but it's like your family's like a pro little basketball team. Like that's how you guys really do it. Like you got your planner and like your systems, but you guys are like, working together, the teamwork theme rolling in there again.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
There it is. I think we could like make a series of t-shirts from all like the like perfect one-liners you said in this episode. It's been so many. It's so good. Okay, this was fun. So let's call it a day there. And then we're gonna do it again sometime. So more good stuff coming. Thanks so much for joining me today, Mike. I'll see you around. All right.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Allison, and thanks for all you do for us.
I appreciate that. All right, take care.